Hi all, we are going to start with our JK125 assembly today. You can see we've already laid out all the parts, made sure everything was here, and we're basically ready to go. Follow your instructions, but there's some helpful hints going what we're doing, and I think you'll find it easier than what you think, and it's just persevere. So I'm going to start building, and you can kind of follow the instructions and we'll take it from there. Got to be sure that the inside is the inside. You can see it's a better painted side, and this way. Lining up the holes was important. And that pushes right down. Be sure to have the back in the back, if that makes any sense. We only hand tighten everything until we get a little further along, but everything's put together stand-wise now. We haven't put the brace on the back yet. We're going to stand things up. Generally, we always recommend 2 people for the standing up, but next thing we need to do is tighten things up. We got to make sure that the crossbar is seated against the frame. You'll see that the crossbars have a notch in the end, and that works okay for that. And we tighten things up a little. Again, it's much easier if you have somebody standing on the other end to hold the nut in place, but For now, we're just going to do it this way. Of course, with the larger sizes, it's almost impossible to do it by yourself. Just going to spin around and do it from the other side here a minute. We're now ready to put some panels on after we put a couple of the screws in through the middle. The simplest method for getting these in is to put it halfway through one side, and then it'll actually just go right through to the other. The centerpieces do not get any washers on that. And these are only hand tightened. We don't want to over tighten these things. There are no pre-drilled holes for any of these plastic nuts and bolts. Now, one thing we want to double check again is making sure that the vent holes are lined on both sides, which they are here, and that one was not. So the one thing that we've changed a little bit over time is we don't put the plastic bolts on the side until we get some of the panels on. The reason being is it's critical to have these lined up flat, and that's where we start working with the panels. So I'm going to start with one panel, and I'm going to put it on the top. And again, this is where having a second person is very beneficial because they can pass you the screws and stuff like that, but for our demonstration purposes, we're not going to do it that way today. So pressing down and lining up the holes. And same with that one. We'll finish tightening those after with an actual driver. Okay. Always a little bit more difficult on the other side, and that's why we don't put in those screws. That gives us a little bit more flexibility to get this lined up properly. Again, having a second person to hold it down is always good, but now from here, I find it easier to do the panels on the ground, and that's something that's a little different than how we used to do it. So what I've done now is, again, two people is always easier. I like to lay the unit down, and there it is. We're laying it on a blanket. What that does is allows these to line up a little bit better, and it also, when you're pushing against the stand as opposed against the ground as opposed to against the stand, if that makes any sense. So we'll just start at the top. And we will start with a panel. few. Then we just carry on with the panels from there. Again, pushing on the ground. This is the front, so we want to make sure we get the doors opening the right direction. You can put a lot of weight on these things doing it this way. It makes it much easier than trying to build it on the stand. Some of them get really quite stiff and tough to do. I don't have a problem with even just sitting on them. That'll give you the next little bit of weight. All right, we gotta do the center bolts now. Again, 2 people make this much easier, but so now we've got to put in these guys in through the sides to keep these in place. And there's no pre-drilled holes, it's just a matter of pushing them through. And then we'll put the final panel on. These ones get the washers. Again, keep it in tight, just hand tighten these. Always be sure that the vent holes are lined up again. They are, but it's always worth a check. Side 2. You can also use a screwdriver if you want on these and make it a little easier on your fingers. I find it easier to do it by hand, but again, we don't have to over tighten those. A couple of these. I again prefer to lay the unit down for the final panel, which is the doors. And that is the final panel. Now I need to tighten some bolts and put on the cross brace. Now it's time to tighten everything up. Good. That's complete. These are adjustable. Get your doors opening and closing, and yeah, they're in. Fill it up, close it down. Any questions, please email us at info@joracomposters.com. But that's the 125. Thank you.